Welcome, fellow Walking Dead collectors. Solid Dave Snake here, bringing you a review on the Skybound exclusive SDCC 2016 Bloody 2-pack of Negan Glenn. And this is one of the 2-packs that Skybound released at SDCC this year. The other being the same 2-pack, however, instead of the bloody color version, they did it in a black and white version. Not a bloody black and white version, just regular black and white. Because most of the 2-packs that Skybound releases are in bloody black and white. However, during Negan's original release from Skybound, they released a single card version of him done in bloody black and white treatment. So I think that's why they didn't go that route with the black and white 2-pack in this one. But just to let you know, that version is out there. However, these 2-packs are not on Skybound's site anymore. They sold out pretty quick. However, we do know that they have more in stock because they are going around to other conventions bringing these 2-packs to their booth. So maybe they will go back up eventually on Skybound, but you're going to have to keep your eyes peeled. Alright, so let's get right into this review, and I will show you off the packaging real quick before we take a look at the figures. Of course, on the front, we have both here in a window display with Comic Negan on the side, and if you notice up here, it says comes with exclusive smashed Glenn head. And this Glenn is not released yet. He's going to be from Comic Series 5. And originally when they were showing prototype shots, they had a blurred out head that was going to come with the Series 5 version. However, I doubt they release it now, since on the front here it says exclusive smashed head. So I'm guessing exclusive to this 2-pack now, which makes sense since this is from issue 100. Of course, it says Walking Dead on the bottom, and the back is what I really love from issue 100 when Negan is going off on Glenn. And we'll actually leave that in the background. And that's pretty ruthless. Now, this 2-pack is great for a lot of reasons. One, Skybound and McFarlane Toys are really taking advantage of the hype in between seasons here on the TV show The Walking Dead, with just having introduced Negan and having that huge cliffhanger. So it's a great time to commemorate issue 100 in action figure form with this. And another great reason for this 2-pack is that original Skybound exclusive Negan has shot up in value over the years. He's extremely hard to find, so a lot of people that wanted him on that first go-around but didn't get him, this is your opportunity to get him now. So that's great for those people that haven't got him yet and was able to give him another opportunity. So we're going to go over this Glenn action figure first here, since he is a new figure. And we'll pull him up. Give you a quick 360 of him as is, and then we'll go over his accessories. Which one you see in his hand now being that axe, and the other Negan is holding over there for us for the time being. But this axe is pretty standard accessory. It may be the same one that came with Lee, the Skybound exclusive Lee action figure, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't have that axe handy with me right now. But it has a great blood effect to it. Of course, you can see the silver underneath that blood splash, and the blood splatter is going in a way that the axe was coming down striking. So they did a great job with that. Of course, the handle's just painted brown to replicate wood. So, pretty standard accessory, but looks great. And before we go over the other accessory, let me give you an up-close look at the Glenn head sculpt I have on right now. Which this is a later version of Glenn, whenever they're at Alexandria. So, this is the Glenn a lot of people were looking for. They did release a Glenn in Series 2 of the comic series action figures. However, that was him in his riot gear. A lot of people were pissed the first comic Glenn release was like that. But Here we have a more classic looking Glenn with his hat on, and whenever Comic Series 5 comes out, you'll be able to get the clean version of him. However, this one is covered in blood. And I really like the way this head sculpt turned out. Looks a lot like the comic book version of Glenn. A little blood dripping down his cheek, and even blood splatter on top of his hat here. And this hat's a little bit of a pliable plastic. And you can tell it's a separate piece if I peel it back. So, to swap heads out, it's real easy. Just pull gently, and you want to make sure that the peg and ball joint stays in there. And now let's get this smashed Glenn head up here and pop them in. And before we actually take a look at it, I want to point out that this head does not go in as far as the normal head, so not too tight of a fit, but you can hide it well. And let's just get an up close look at this, because this is ruthless. A lot of gore in this head sculpt, and you can definitely tell this is towards the end of the beating, as his head is extremely caved in. I mean, that's really smashed in. There's barely anything left of his head. And great job with the blood and brain, just the inner matter up there all looks glossy. Like it's fresh and sticky blood. Blood dripping down the left side of his face, and the eyeball popped out, turned out perfect. You can see the pupil is painted on there perfectly, hanging down the side of his face. His jaw's broken from taking a side swing from the bat, a normal baseball swing, and then he started overhead smashing him. Poor Glenn, that looks bad. A lot of gore on this side of the face. So I can definitely see them making this head sculpt exclusive to this 2-pack like it says. I can see them not putting it in with that normal Comic Series 5 Glenn release. Not only for the gore factor on the shelf, but also it's almost pointless having it with the other release, as it's a standard Glenn non-bloody, and this one is covered in blood, so this head sculpt goes perfect with it. And now let's take a look at this new figure from the neck down. And I was really excited to have a new comic Walking Dead action figure before its normal release. I like that Skybound did this. And the sculpt is really well done. However, at points of the articulation, it does throw off the sculpt. But my biggest complaint is probably that in between the arm and the hand, the little joint they put in there, they didn't paint it flesh tone. They left the plastic the color of his inner shirt there. Which, it's not too big of a gripe. I'd have just rather than painted it flesh tone. And the blood splatter effect on his jacket turned out really good. Even underneath, this outer piece is very pliable. So you can see they didn't skimp on the blood underneath that as well. And it continues down on his pants. Only up around the thigh area, not too bad down below. A little bit on the cuffs down here and boot. But overall, I really like this new sculpt for the Glenn. Very fitting for the character. And the articulation is really good. At the head, he does have that ball joint and peg. So you can get full rotation. And he can look that far up and that far down. Gets a good bit of tilt out of it as well. However, when you have him looking off to the side, he kind of has this ugly point here on the neck. Kind of like the new color tops have. That Rick Grime, how his head was. So that doesn't look too good. but is forgiving with this figure, since you're really not going to have him looking to the side too much, especially with this smashed head. And at the shoulders, he has a ball joint and hinge, which will go up to 90 degrees, rotate all the way around. Same thing at the elbows, which you can get up to 90 degrees on both sides, and full rotation. And at the wrist, he has the same articulation all the figures have, with the hinge and the rotation. And he does have a cut at the waist. However, it's going to be pretty tight as soon as you open him up, so you'll have to work with it. And he has that updated leg articulation that they all have now, which can do a total split, kick up to 90 degrees, and about this far back. At the knees, you can get full rotation and bend almost up to 90 degrees. So it's going to be nice to be able to get Glenn in some running poses finally. And at the foot, he does have a ball joint, which will rotate all the way around. And you're going to have to work with it, but the cuffs of the pants kind of hinder the movement up and down on the boots a little bit. But you can get about 1/4 of an inch of movement there. So I really like this new Glenn action figure, and that smashed head is just perfect for Glenn's final scene. But now let's pull Negan up here, and this is the same Negan that was released before as a Skybound exclusive. Same sculpt. However, the paint job is different with the blood splatter going on it. And he does have blood splatter on his accessories. So it's nice to get a Lucille covered in gore. Of course, it's the same Lucille that came with the previous Skybound exclusive, just with blood on it. So nothing new there, and I wish they would make her out of a little bit of a harder plastic, because on both of my Negan's Lucilles, they kind of are very bendy down here, and if you have them holding on to them for a while, it kind of warps down. And he does come with the same knife that he had come with before. And it is covered in blood this go around. So very cool. However, he does not come with the iron accessory this go around. So that iron accessory is an exclusive to that original Negan Skybound exclusive. And I'll pull out the previous Negan release just to show you they are exactly the same, just with different bloody paint job. And the skin tone is a little different on the figures. He's a little darker on the old release and a little lighter on this release, if you can tell. But all in all, the articulation is exactly the same, so I will not go over the articulation. If you want to see the articulation on this Negan figure, I will put a link in the description below for my original review of the Skybound exclusive Negan. So, alright everyone, that will wrap up my review on this awesome 2-pack. I highly recommend it, and if you haven't got this 2-pack yet and want it, you better be keeping your eyes peeled on Skybound, because I got a feeling they will be releasing more here in the near future. So, I will leave you with Negan and his buddy Glenn. Alright guys, I'll see you later, and I will be reviewing all of Comic Series 5 whenever it comes out, so stay tuned for those. Later guys.